Mbappe. Look at the pace of Mbappe. What a finish.
Goes for his left. Oh, what a goal! Man alive!
Kylian Mbappe qui contrôle, qui lève la tête.
Kylian Mbappe, straight past Guimaraes. Mbappe, great power there, and 4 forward for Paris Saint-Germain against just 3. Mbappe! What a goal!
He's going to become the best player in the world.
Mbappe! He has signed for the club. The most expensive player on the game is in my gallery. I spent just under 2.5 ETH on him, so let me explain why. Let's start with the absolute obvious, right? This guy's an absolute monster. In real life, he's probably up there as the best player in the world right now. If he's not the best, he's in the top 3, undoubtedly, really. In terms of Sorare, his scores are off the chart. Under 23, he's without doubt the best player you can get. I mean, sorting by the last 40, which is obviously consistent across a whole season, he's clear as the top scorer. Only person that even gets close is Lisandro Martinez. Not only is Martinez, gone out of the under 23 division, now he's 24, but he's also looking at getting a move to Man United, and those scores would fall off a cliff. Beyond that, there's a couple of players close, but no one is on Mbappe's level. If you know the club, I've also got Messi, I've got Neymar, Donnarumma, Hakimi, Marquinhos. I've basically got the whole PSG squad, and I was missing the crown jewel of it all. Obviously, this is not just go out and spend as much as you can. I had to grind to get this money. I got rid of my whole Asian team, I got rid of my whole America team, and I got rid of some other big names. You can see it here, how I pretty much raised as much funds as I could. I mean, look at this, right? I had to get rid of Jude Bellingham for 0.4. So he's 0.4 compared to Mbappe, which I got for just under 2.5 ETH, that is. Etienne Green obviously linked to get a full-time job. DH just got in, and there you can see 2.47 ETH for Kylian Mbappe. So many players had to be let go here. Sergio Gomez is going to have a good season next year, but like we said, we are aiming to win the under-23 division. We have one of the best squads there are, so I thought, let's just put it all together. Let's not be afraid of Mbappe. Let's go out and get him. And it wasn't as clear as that. It took me so long to actually decide whether I want him because of this reason. And I think this is great if you guys could do some similar, calculations at home. This is the cost of Mbappe, and these are the cost of some of the other players that I want in my club. So here was kind of my perfect solution where I can go out and get Haaland, Timber, and Starfelt from Celtic and still have some change left on what I was going to get for Mbappe. I actually went as far as offering for Haaland. I thought in this situation, such a big decision, I have to reach out for some second opinions. The one that really struck home to me was Bob Flynn. I interviewed him, you'll see it here at the top, like a couple of months ago now, and he didn't even start Haaland in his under-23s. So I spoke to him about it, and he said, if you're going to buy Haaland, you're basically expecting him to get 2 goals a game because of the low AA, right, compared to an Mbappe. And I thought about it, and I was like, no player in the Premier League has ever got 2 goals a game. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Then I looked at Man City's first game of the season, and I was like, West Ham, away. Would I prefer to play Erling Haaland over Jota or over Vinicius Jr.? It's so tough, I probably wouldn't. And then I look at Mbappe's fixtures, and any of the fixtures in the French league, I'd put him ahead of one of those 2 guys. So I was like, it's so painful, but you have to go out and spend big. At least in my opinion. Let me know what you think. I tossed and turned over this for so long. Would you rather have Haaland, Timber, Starfelt, or one Kylian Mbappe? It's really tough how you can judge these players in terms of are they good value, are they bad value? Because when you're dealing with the top 1-2 players on the platform, if they are going to score you those extra points that win you the division, it really doesn't matter what you pay for them because the star prizes that you're going to be getting are players like that, which you would just sell on. So it's really confusing. I ultimately went with what I could get the best decision, what I could get the best out of my club for. So like I said, trying to win the under-23 division, he's going to be key for that. Linking with my other players in terms of consistent scoring, Messi, Neymar, Mbappe should all be setting each other up last season, very much like they did this season. I think he could even outdo his scores he did last season. I wasn't a fan of Poch, although in terms of Kylian Mbappe just himself, his scores were absolutely ridiculous in terms of goals and assists. So although I did pay 2.47 ETH, I don't think that's a bad price for him. He's already on offer at 2.53, and he was on offer at 2.53 when I was negotiating with this guy. And we basically both came to the decision that these cards, a lot of these are going to be purchased just by people that are looking to flip them. There's a lot of people at that 2.5 level ready to sell. And I was thinking, you know, I'm not too bothered if I don't get this now, because I think he could fall in price a little bit in the very short term. And this guy actually had a similar opinion. So I offered him just above, you know, the last lowest bid at 2.47. So that guarantees me my Mbappe. I was sitting on the ETH regardless, so that gets rid of that risk. If you compare it then into kind of sterling value, I think I've got, you know, one of the better sides of the deal. So 2156 compared to one that's already finished for, you know, £100 extra. This one would be pretty much in the same boat, and then it depends whether someone outbids this one. But I'd be waiting for a day. I wouldn't even be able to get this, because if you did try and outbid, you'd be paying 2,400. So yes, it's an absolute ton of money, but I really hope it's the right decision for the club. I think I got a good value in terms of, you know, what Mbappe is selling for at the moment. I might be able to sell him on, but that is not the plan. We are sticking with Kylian for the long term. The other difficulties that we had is that if you do buy Haaland, let's say, or Timber, Haaland has so many years left of utility, as does Timber, and Timber looks to be staying at Ajax. So it's that, like, okay, so Mbappe scores better than Timber, but long term, are you going to get more out of these other players? And then you bring in the World Cup scenario, and I've got such a good World Cup team, but obviously Mbappe will probably be the best under-23 player at the World Cup. So I just went with Mbappe in the end. It was such a tough decision, and I really hope it pays off. But again, I do want to know your thoughts on it. Even after selling off my whole American team, my whole Asia team, some under-23 monsters, I could not afford Mbappe. Had to top up an extra £300, but in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't too damaging. And then when you consider how I intend to be winning this back, right? If you don't know about Sorare, it's basically just a fantasy football game where you compete against other people for ETH prizes and card prizes, which you can sell. And the teams I plan on putting out are pretty monstrous. Let me start on my Champion Europe team, right? The top 5 leagues in Europe is pretty much a PSG stack, with Toni Kroos in the middle to control, to put those massive scores up. And when you consider, you know, that's just the base team, we've still got depth in behind of, you know, different players that aren't first choice in the under-23s team, but could slot into either team. And there's someone like Lorenzo Pellegrini from Roma, who is also a very solid scorer. And then we even have a couple of people below that, you know, Upamecano would be first choice, but he's probably going to go into the under-23 team, which I said already is taking priority. And look at that for an under-23 team. We got Diogo Costa in goal, Upamecano, Enzo Fernandez, Kylian Mbappe, Jota from Celtic. It is, you know, my ideal team pretty much. You know, I've got these players across the whole year. I was able to do it by, you know, earning little rewards here, little rewards, tier 2s, tier 3s. At the end of summer, I've compiled them all up and they've gone into this. If you've been keeping along with the journey, you know that's not it. We've got so much depth here, right? Donnarumma could slot in if he's guaranteed to be first choice. Jules Koundé, depending on where he moves. Pedri, if he performs the way I think he'll perform this season, he would probably slot in ahead of Enzo Fernandez, which is absolutely nuts. Fatty, we need to see how he comes back from his injury. Hakimi. And then, of course, we've got David Turnbull, Seko Koita, Orlin Chimeni, everyone you can see on screen. Even got a couple of, you know, championship players because they've got so many games, and a couple of others that might make some good or bad moves. But yeah, we are excited for that. If you're wondering what's going on with the main man, Vinicius Jr., after being chopped from the under-23s team, most likely he'll obviously rotate with Jota. He will probably slot into the specialist most weeks. Obviously, the specialist is a huge opportunity because you can win rare star cards, which are just absolutely nuts considering you're playing with limited cards. And then obviously you can pick up some cheap under 40 averages, and I think that would be a really good strategy. Obviously, at the time, I might change the strategy to maybe put like Mbappe into specialist, depending on, you know, how competitive the environment is, how many people on board, all the rest of this. But, you know, this is a basic framework of how the teams could look next season. Even planning as far out into the World Cup, which could be a bit excessive, but I don't think many players on the game will have a limited team for the World Cup as good as this one. So that's why I've prioritized it, because if it does come to fruition, if we do have all these players playing in the same game week, this team could do some serious damage. As could this team without Jude Bellingham. Obviously, he had to get sold on. Bono could be improved, obviously, as well. So it's just a case of, you know, how many rewards can I win until November when the World Cup starts? And then just, yeah, take it from there, really. But that is all I've got time for today. I really hope you enjoyed it. It is my biggest move on Sorare to date, I'd say. So let me know your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed it, please like, please subscribe, and yeah, all the best to you. Cheers.